I'd even go to the extent to say you probably train a little bit more for MMA, just because you have to do all the different disciplines that go into MMA, whereas Muay Thai, like do a 2-hour class every night, perfect. We got everything done that we wanted to in that class. But if I do a 1-hour jiu-jitsu class, I still have to cover all the other parts of it. So you probably have to train a little bit more, I'd personally say.
Welcome back, everyone, to Fighters of Perth, the show where we aim to get to know our fighters here a little bit better, their story, their journey, and hopefully make a new friend along the way. My guest with me today is Ashby Tink, another big heavyweight here in Perth, WA, both a Muay Thai fighter and an MMA fighter, currently undefeated in Muay Thai, 6-0, and 4-1 in MMA. And recently, gold medal at the Gamma. So can you explain the GA? I can't remember how to say it. What is it?
Sure. So Global Association of Mixed Martial Arts.
Yeah. And that was where recently?
That was in New Zealand, middle of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Exciting. Gold medals for that, so that's pretty exciting.
Thank you.
Mate, give me your martial arts origin story. So obviously both Muay Thai and MMA. I'd love to hear about, how you got started in both, and just get us up to speed.
No, awesome. So I haven't been that long into it. I'd say approximately maybe 5 years. I don't want to over-exaggerate, but it'll be about 5 years. And no heroic backstory. I basically just started at Wolves Den. When I moved to Australia, I thought I used to be a swimmer back in the day, so I wanted to keep fit. And so I thought, I'll give it a try just for a bit of fitness and to learn a new skill. And then kind of just fell in love with it and thoroughly enjoyed the aspect. And then I trained for maybe a year or so, and my coach said, look, do you want to try a fight? And I said, okay, well, we'll give it a go, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And
was that a Muay Thai? Sorry to interrupt. Was that a Muay Thai MMA fight?
That was Muay Thai.
Okay.
Muay Thai first, and I really enjoyed that. And the rest is basically history. Here we are today.
Yeah. So, so from after starting Muay Thai, how many fights in Muay Thai did you have before you started dabbling in MMA as well?
I think it was 3. So I had 3 Muay Thai fights, and then Wolves Den being an MMA gym, it was just a matter of time. I was bound to get into it. Did a bit of rolling, wrestling, and then thought, okay, well, let's try an MMA. And it's taken a bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
It's different. A lot of facets to that sport.
Oh, definitely. And I want to explore that a little bit later. Were you playing around with the MMA stuff while you're still fighting, in those first 3 fights, or was it you had those 3 fights and then you only started exploring the MMA?
It was more, no, so I try and spend as less time on the mats as possible. Yes. I hate rolling. So even now, I only roll when I have a fight, when I'm in fight camp, which is terrible. So I don't suggest anyone does that. But so my coach just said, look, why don't we just try an MMA fight? You might like it. Yeah. So I thought, okay, well, it'll probably be a good idea to then start learning a bit of jiu-jitsu. He's like, yeah, let's start. So I think I started for about a month, and then he found me a fight. And so that's how it worked, yeah. But to answer your question, I didn't really dabble with it before that. I didn't see the enjoyment in it. Yeah. I still struggle to see the enjoyment in some jiu-jitsu, but it has its place. I'm sure, a lot of people fall in love with it.
Yeah, I was similar as well. I didn't really enjoy it. I felt like it was something I had to learn. I didn't really enjoy it much. And then at just some point, you catch this bug. So I hope that happens for you, where you actually start enjoying it.
Everyone says, well, I'm looking forward to when that happens.
It's changed a little bit more, palatable.
Yep, correct.
Now, talking about fights, your recent fight, something Masters, I don't remember.
Joel Masters from New Zealand.
Yeah. Now, I remember watching that fight, and you're winning that fight quite clearly, but you were, at the end, when they're announcing you as the winner, you're shaking your head, you look a little bit disappointed. You even put on Facebook a bit of a post about that. Can you just share with us, what was that you found disappointing? What were the difficulties there?
Sure. So on that, I hope I didn't come across too disrespectful to get the win. Obviously, it's always grateful to get the win. I've always said, and it sounds maybe a bit cliche-like, but it's not about whether you win or lose, technically. Obviously, we all love to win. But I genuinely care about my performance, first and foremost, above everything else. And so even if I win a fight, but I'm very unhappy with my performance, it's not an overall win for me. It's thanks, I'm grateful for the win, but I should have performed better. If there were certain things in the fight that I could have done better, then I will be disappointed. And if I lose a fight one day and I performed well, I can almost guarantee that I'd be happy. Obviously didn't get the win, but I'd be happy with my performance. So on my last fight, I should have probably displayed it a bit better. It was a bit ungrateful the way I was but I was genuinely disappointed after the fight. Just I just didn't. It wasn't my best fight, and I definitely could have got that finish. Obviously, I was robbed of two extra rounds. It was supposed to be five rounds.
Okay, tell me about that. I didn't know about that.
Well, let me tread carefully. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But so the fight was scheduled for as a co-main event, 5-3s. It was going to be my first time fighting 5-3s, so I was really looking forward to that. My fitness was the best it's ever been. It was peak, and we get to the weighed in on weights, and we get to the venue.
It was on the fight
day.
Night.
Yeah,
Wow.
like an hour or two before I fight. And a commission member comes over to me and says, "Look, this fight might be off." And I said, what do you mean? And they said, "No, well, look," and I'm not going to get into too much detail with that, okay. But they saw my weight the next day at the secondary weigh-in, and they said, "No, we're not fighting him. We're not fighting him." So technically, long story short, the commission had to negotiate and say, "Look, well, can you do three threes instead of 5-3s?" Because they didn't want to be in the ring with me for 5 rounds. So it's the craziest thing. They negotiate, and they're like, "Okay,
boy, man, I don't believe
yeah," and they're like, "Okay, we'll do 3-3s." Yeah, look, it is what it is. Obviously, very disappointed in that, and not pointing fingers at anyone. Look, it is what it is. But I weighed in on weight, fair and square. I was professional about it, and I put on a bit of weight the next day, quite a lot.
But aren't you still within that 10%? Because you have to do that secondary weigh-in.
Yes.
And you still have to be within a certain bracket, like, what's the word for it? But yeah, you have to be, I think it's within 10% of your weight. I'm not really saying it well, but...
No, I completely understand you, and you're right. And please don't quote me on this, because I don't know exactly, but I think it's not mandatory or / compulsory thus far. As of yet, I think they're trying to bring it in. I was over 10%
okay,
the
so
next day.
Collecting data.
Exactly, it's data analytics, I think, for them, and so yeah, that was what happened on this fight. So first of all, but anyway, so what I was saying, I was a bit unhappy with my performance there. Just like, I don't know if you want to talk more about the fight later, but I wasn't cutting him off well. Obviously, he was evading most of the fights. He didn't want to stand and engage, which is fine. But I could have cut him off the ring a lot better. And I was hesitant. Like, for the first 2 rounds, I thought, is he baiting me? Is this bait, like, to come in and then... But no, he didn't want to engage.
You just felt like there was a bit of fear there.
Yeah,
you
like...
must have been scared, like, to not want to engage the whole fight. And obviously, the story of them changing the rules probably is a good indication that he was...
Yeah, and surprising, because and I have so much respect for him. I've watched a number of his past fights. He's an absolute legend. Like, watching his fights, he has the most impressive knockout record I've seen. He had something like 32 fights, 29 knockouts. He has more belts than he knows what to do with. So he's a really well-known, high-level, skilled fighter. So maybe just didn't feel it that day. He had been off for a while. I think he had retired for 9 years. So there might have been a few things off on him. So give him the benefit of the doubt, all due respect to him. But yeah, I was surprised. I was expecting him to come with everything plus the kitchen sink, just knowing his history and his record. But it wasn't the case on the night. But look, he got a free holiday to Perth, so I hope he enjoyed his time here. He got to see Perth for the first time. So yeah, thanks to him for coming out.
There can be so many reasons why someone's performance is off on a night. There's so many little things, like what you ate the day before, just your mind, like your state of mind on the day. So who knows why.
Yeah.
So basically the main thing that was frustrating was just that he was moving out the way. He wasn't really engaging. And you said you're struggling with, like, cutting him off?
Yeah.
Can you just explore that a little bit more?
Sure. So I didn't have good ring control. So I was following him in a circle. Like a bit of duck, goose, just running around in circles. I should have cut him off the ring, obviously being a square ring. If you can use your corners and you leverage that, and you just cut him off by taking 1 or 2 steps to the right or 1 or 2 steps to the left. And I wasn't doing that well enough. Whereas if I had have cut him off, he wouldn't have been able to evade and run circulars around the ring. So that's something I could improve on, but lessons learned for next time. And definitely, I was a bit hesitant to fully engage. I should have just taken 1 step closer to him and just fully engage and just let everything go. I actually ended up fracturing the metacarpal bones in my foot from that fight on the top. Yeah, just because I was a little bit too far away from him. So
the elbow?
It was on his wrist when I went to throw a head kick, and I felt it first round in the fight.
Have you ever heard of someone hurting their foot on someone's wrist.
Yeah.
I can imagine the elbows going for
Exactly,
the body kicks. Wow.
exactly. It was a strange one. I was a head kick. I remember it clearly, and I thought, okay, this is going to be fun because I
Was it
feel
early in
that
the fight? When that
early on in the first round.
Wow, so you're just feeling it the whole fight.
Yeah, I felt it the whole fight. Towards the end, it was extremely painful. But that's my fault again because I just was a little bit too fast. I was landing my shots with my foot instead of my shin. So primarily that was what I was disappointed in. But again, I was very proud of my fitness going into that fight. My mindset, I was extremely calm backstage. So I'm definitely coming along as a fighter. So got a long way to go. So I took a lot of positives out of it, but I also am going to learn from the negatives from that fight.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Now, you're saying your mind was really calm backstage. Do you have any tips or advice for any new fighters, some little, I guess, tricks or things to help them get into the right state of mind before a fight?
Such a good question, honestly, because every fighter knows you go through, you get the fears, you get the adrenaline dump. And I've asked fighters, I remember before my second fight, I messaged Charlie Bubb, who's a hero, and I said, mate, any tips on just how to calm your nerves and everything? And what he said to me, he said, just think to yourself, tomorrow's just another day. You're going to go to work, you're going to do everything you do. And what he meant by that is don't overthink it. It's just another day. Yes, it's an event and you're going to go and kick someone in the head and they're going to kick you. But it's just another day, and don't put your focal point on that fight right then. Just think, okay, well, what am I doing tomorrow? And that's just life. Your life's going to carry on. It's not the end of the world. I don't know if it's true, but Toby Smith, who's, as we know, an absolute living legend, he used to get extremely nervous before fights. So that just shows you, like, don't think that you're the only person that's nervous. Your opponent's nervous. Even people like Toby Smith, they get nervous. And I think there are certain tips, but I also just think embrace it. Because certain nerves, they do heighten your senses and your awareness, and it makes you quicker and more responsive in the ring and more focused. So you do need some aspect of fear and nerves, but it's when it becomes the pilot and takes control, that's when you need to calm it down. Rather than being scared, you be alert and focused rather. So tips, I think just breathing's good. It sounds silly, but box breathing, and really just brings the heart rate down again, and embrace it because everyone knows you're extremely nervous before the fight, and then the second you step in there and the first shot is thrown, it's gone. We're on now. Yeah, we're on. Yeah. Yes.
Just explain box breathing to anyone like myself who doesn't know what that is.
Sure. So box breathing is just, I don't know how many seconds it is, but let's, for example, say you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold the breath in for 4 seconds, you exhale all the carbon dioxide out of you for 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 4 seconds again. You breathe in, hold it, yeah. So it's just, I don't know who came up with the technique, but it works. Yeah. Just to bring the heart rate down. Yeah. So those are my tips. Again, I'm by no means an expert fighter. You'd be better placed to ask someone else, but that's just how I calm. It works for me. Yeah.
And are you a big, I know some people love listening to music before fights. Some people just don't want to do that at all. Like, are you a big music listener?
Sure. No, I love being backstage before a fight.
Feeling everything. Yeah.
We have so much banter with my team. Like my best mate Alden, he's always backstage with me, and it's a fun time. It's a positive. Everyone's in a good mood, and I thoroughly just enjoy submersing myself in that vibe backstage. And I know all the fighters, and just chat with them. And I try not to block everything out. Like I say, I try and embrace the fight in its entirety. So I'm backstage. I just embrace it all. I'm like, we're here to fight. I don't want to blank out with music. I don't want to get in the zone. We're in the zone already. We know we're going to fight. I love to just chat around, hype with my coaches and the other fighters, and I love that experience backstage. It's so exciting.
I wish I could say the same.
Really,
a lot of people get that is just the worst part of it. And then, like I said, once you're in there, it's good, but it's the build up. But yeah, I digress. It's cool that you can enjoy that whole experience. There's nothing that is kind of not enjoyable. The whole, like I said, the whole fight experience is a good time.
Yep.
Good time. You know what I mean? As good as it can be.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, man.
Except weight cutting.
Except the weight cutting, yeah.
That's, it's never fun for anyone. All fighters know that.
Is there a cap to the heavyweight division?
So,
try to get under?
Please excuse me if I'm wrong on this. I'm not an expert. So, for Muay Thai, I think it's, and Alex told me this other day, I think it's 95 and above is heavyweight open. And I believe you may get a super heavyweight. I'm not sure if they have that in Muay Thai, but I'm pretty sure it's No, sorry, that's incorrect. It's 92 and above is heavyweight. So 92 and over is open heavyweight.
So why do you have to cut weight? Because I'm sure you walk around like you're fighting above 92, aren't you?
Yeah, so we normally fight 95 catch weight.
Oh, okay, so
I've fought Gamma. I fought 155 kg person. I fought 120 kg. I fought 92. I've fluctuated between weights just so I can get a fight. And we found like what I call the sweet spot is that I really perform well at around 95, somewhere there. So if I can afford the luxury of asking for a fight around that weight, it's always preferable. But like I say, I will take a fight any weight. Yeah, but I love fighting around 95. I feel good, feel fast. Look a bit leaner, you know. When I fight at 120, I don't want any photos, like turn the cameras off. No one can look at me, you know. I'm a bit chubby around the waist. So yeah, I know 95 is the sweet spot for me.
Yeah. Now, talking about your Gamma fight, so you recently, is that your second most recent fight that you had?
Yes, that would have been second most recent. Yes, correct, in New Zealand.
Yeah, and so there's a gold medal there. Tell us about that experience. Is it tournament style, or how does that work?
It is tournament style, but obviously being heavyweight, you just have like a fight. So Gamma is it's a huge show. Obviously, it's international, so it's global. So everyone from around the world comes to compete in that. And every year changes in different countries. And I believe the next one's in Bali. So that should be. So I'm not going to go. That was my last Gamma. It's not the most well-organized show at times, and I've had 2 bad experiences with the organizing of the show now, but it's a great opportunity. Always grateful to travel and fly around. It's allowed me to go to Amsterdam and New Zealand, so Gamma's a great show.
And is it amateur or professional, or does it not matter?
They have amateur and pro. They have both amateur and pro. It's a bit confusing. There's a lot going on at Gamma with the categories and everything, but I'm pretty sure it's pro and amateur.
Did you do pro?
I fought in the amateur, but I fought a pro. He's had like heaps of fights. He was a brown belt and everything. And I'm trying to be respectful to the show, but when I say it's not organized very well, it's there's a lot of issues with that show. But it's
That sounds like you're trying to be very respectful, and I appreciate that. Out of some of those funny experiences, what do you feel comfortable sharing?
No, okay, sure. So it's just the timeline. So one of my teammates almost missed a fight. They told him, okay, well, you're going to fight at this time, which was like 4 hours later. And then they said, no, we're just going to change the fight times around. So he's sleeping in the room and we have to run up and go say, you're fighting like now. And that was just one example. They just changed the whole timing of the show. It was an absolute mess up. So you didn't know when you're on. Some people were fighting late. They do mandatory hydration testing, but it's so slack. Like some people got away with it. Some people were cutting copious amounts of weight, and others then had to match. It wasn't like blanket. It wasn't across everyone, which I think is unprofessional because you know the weight cutting game is dangerous. So yeah, that plus weight categories being a bit unsure. So those are some of the primary factors that they need to clean up their organizing a little bit better. Yeah, no, definitely. They got the funding behind them. They got the capital injection. So yeah, I'm sure they'll.
And that was something you felt for both the ones you did. Yeah, it was a bit of disorganization there.
Yeah, correct.
So that was felt pretty good getting the gold in this one, because the last one, you explained to me before the show that it wasn't an official MMA fight. It was something like a hybrid. Maybe explain that. But either way, it must be pretty good to win this one after a bit of an iffy loss there, which, please, I'd like you to explain to me.
Definitely. So it was an interesting, like you say, hybrid rule set. So it was striking with no elbows. There was takedowns, no punches on the ground. You could hold someone on the ground, I think, once you take them down for approximately 2-3 seconds. And I think there were a few other variating different rules in that. So went into Amsterdam, I think it was maybe 2 years ago now. And so I signed up to fight that, and I fought a great opponent from Kazakhstan, I think he was from, and I still follow him on social media. He's on a rampage. He's just knocking everyone out. And so I actually, and this is not an excuse at all, I lost pretty fair and square. I had COVID at the time, so I had to get letters to fly and everything to say I'd just gotten over it. Definitely wasn't. It was the worst shape I've ever been going into a fight. I just felt terrible. I was still congested and everything. Not that that would have helped anyways, but and so went into the fight, and he just came out trying to take my head off. I got rocked in the first few seconds, but managed to come back again and then start throwing back. And then I got hit with a weird knee in the stomach, which dropped me fair and square. And then I got up within the time, and then the ref came in and said, did he hit you in the nuts? And I was like, no. It was a genuine shot. Like, it was a legitimate shot, and it winded me. He's like, okay, cool. He says, you ready to go again? I was like, yeah, let's go. And I walked off, and then he just waved his hands, stopped the fight. And then everyone's like looking around like, honestly, no jokes, that's how it happened. And everyone's a bit like, oh, okay. I was getting teed up, but nothing bad. So it's another example of the reffing and stuff's it can be a bit iffy. But yeah, look, I was very disappointed with it, but I didn't harp on about it. I just took it as a loss. My coach wasn't happy about that, but yeah, all respect to him. He's, like I said, he's on a rampage. He's just lighting it up at the moment. So yeah. So that was my experience in Amsterdam. And then, yeah, I was just grateful to have a 4-day holiday after that. I'd never been to Europe, so that was really good. We enjoyed Amsterdam's nice. I don't know if you've been, but
I have.
You have.
It's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
I love all those kind of European countries, the architecture, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, so that was that Gamma, and like I say, Gamma's great, and I don't want anyone to think I'm putting them down, because if you have the opportunity to fight on Gamma, I'd 100% say go for it, and you get to travel. That's what's so good about it, is that it's in unique countries every year, and it's a great opportunity to travel. So
do they fund your traveling, or
no? It's self-funded. They fund accommodation. I think the food with accommodation, so which is more than fair. Obviously, there's so many competitors to fund flights, especially the price at the moment. They just can't. I'm sure they'd love to, but it's unrealistic. Yeah. But full accommodation, food, and everything is that's
still pretty amazing.
Definitely,
And you got the fight, that Amsterdam fight. You say, is it appealed, or is it turned over?
Yeah, so we try to appeal it with the refs and officials, and there were a few other appeals going on. I think the officials were overloaded with, like I say, a few issues of the show, and they were overloaded. And but we definitely put in and said, this is not on. Please just tighten up your reffing for the next fights, because we don't want that to happen to anyone else. And nothing came of it. So, but I just took it as a loss. It is what it is. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. And it's not like you're saying that, I would have won. It's just that you felt like there was just a little bit of an early stoppage, that's all.
Definitely, yeah. No, 100%, yeah.
Now, you fought both MMA and Muay Thai. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 6-0, so undefeated in Muay Thai, which is pretty cool, and 4-1 with MMA. Are those, that 4-0, that 5 fights, are those pro fights, amateur fights?
So the MMA is amateur, so those are amateur fights. And look, my ground game at the moment is a bit too weak to risk getting elbowed in the face on the ground. So, but I think it's up to my coach. If he's happy, I don't see us too far off going pro in the MMA.
And it can be a bit of a big jump, just because you've had Muay Thai fights going to, because some of those pro MMA fighters, striking, they're just so well rounded, striking great, ground game great. Like, you got to really be ready for that.
100%. And like I say, I'm quick to admit it. My flaws, my ground game's is weak at the moment. My wrestling's picking up a lot. And we're really working on my ground game. As much as I'm not enjoying it, like I say, my coach is putting a lot of time into my ground game, and we're working on that, because when you go pro and those elbows are when someone's on top of you throwing elbows, you got to learn to get up very quick. We'll probably maybe go pro next year. We'll see what happens, all things considered.
Sorry, man, I interrupted you.
No, you're good.
What's the biggest difference between the pro and MMA? Is it just the timing of the rounds? Like, you mentioned elbows in the ground, so does amateur not allow elbows in the ground? Like,
no elbows. So full amateur rules is no elbows at all.
Okay.
But basically, I think the biggest difference for me personally that I would say going into pro is just the elbows. Because we all know how devastating those can be, and when you're on the ground, they'll just cut you open and the ref will stop it. So personally, I think that for me that'll be the biggest change going into the fight. I'm looking forward to throwing elbows, obviously coming from a Muay Thai background, just not when I'm on my back on the ground.
That's understandable.
I think that'll be the biggest change for me.
Yeah. And is it so? Because I'm not 100% sure how it works. Is the difference like is it 3-minute rounds for amateur, or is it 5-minute rounds, or is it 3? like three-minute rounds? How does that work? What's the difference
So
if there is any?
yeah, sure. So I think it's similar to Muay Thai. Amateur, you the least you can do is 3 threes.
Okay.
Amateurs, you can still do 5 threes. And I think I could be incorrect. I think if it's like for an amateur title on a big show, they might even allow you to fight 5 fives. I'm not sure, but obviously we know like pro is 5 threes, and then for a title it has to be 5 fives.
Right.
That's
so
pro. So it does change slightly with the timing. Yeah,
when you say 5-3, so 5 3-minute rounds.
correct.
So you only bump up like to a 5-minute round when you're actually fighting for a title.
Correct.
Otherwise, it's a 3-minute round. I
Correct.
didn't know that. I thought all pro fights were 5-minute rounds.
Maybe. And again, like I said at the beginning, please don't quote me on that.
No, that's okay.
It could be 3 fives. I've seen a few different times in fights, but yeah, I've only ever fought 3 threes in MMA. It's tiring. 3 threes is tiring in MMA.
Getting down after taking someone, then you how do you feel that? Like you're just taking someone down, or you're on the ground wrestling and you have to get up and strike. Your arms feel
And again, it's an experience thing because I'm still reasonably inexperienced in MMA. Like you look at the pros, like I would say like Olden, they know how to use their energy well. Whereas I'll like tense up if I try and get taken down. They're very relaxed and they utilize their energy. They don't waste it. They're calm. They're more relaxed when they get taken down the ground. So they're more efficient with their energy. But MMA is tough. It's tiring. You picking up, especially in heavyweight, you're trying to grapple with a huge gorilla, and then you got to strike him and everything. So like I said, there's so many facets to MMA, but it's one thing is tiring. Wrestling's tiring, trying to get someone down. So your fitness has to be peak in MMA. Otherwise, you will lose out on fitness without a doubt. Yeah, same as any. I'm not saying not the case for other sports, but definitely MMA. Your fitness will be exposed very quickly.
Yeah. And it's funny, like relatives, like you got obviously a bit more of a Muay Thai background, so you're more adapted to, the energy systems for Muay Thai. Because I have heard like people who do wrestling, jiu-jitsu, on the ground they can go rounds. The moment they start striking, they just stop, passing out. So it's pretty funny, like what you will find difficult. Depending on your background, like you might just the moment you're standing up with someone, you're like, this fight is so hard. But if you're on the ground, like, this is great.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, so I'm obviously far more comfortable striking, and I've learned to conserve my energy reasonably well in that. But yeah, like if you're used to wrestling, those guys can wrestle you all day, and it's a scary thing when you have someone coming and they're relentless and they're just trying to wrestle you, and they don't get tired. You think, oh man, this guy's is he ever going to get tired? And they don't. So that can be a scary thought.
What is the biggest difference for someone that's, again, brand new to combat sports, or maybe they've just started Muay Thai? What's the biggest difference for you between Muay Thai and MMA in the sense of competing? Like the preparation, do you train different for one than the other? Yeah, like let's dive a little bit into that. Sure.
So the best way to say it was obviously one's not easier than the other, but due to so many varying factors that happen in MMA, you have to train all the different facets. So obviously you got to do your ground game, your wrestling, your striking. You've got to improve your boxing because boxing is a big part of MMA. It's less like kicks. So the key difference is the beauty about Muay Thai is you can just focus on Muay Thai. Your kicks, your elbows, your pad work, and your sparring and your bag work done. Muay Thai, we know that. But for MMA now, I'm stating the obvious, but you have to work your striking, then you have to go to your jiu-jitsu classes, you have to do your wrestling classes, you have to, if you want to be good, you have to probably go to the gym a bit more. I think when you're grappling, strength and conditioning plays a larger part. You need to be strong on the ground. Whereas Muay Thai, obviously, I promote, obviously, S&C as well, but you have to when you get into grappling. So it changes a lot, and you just have to train a lot more. You have to be better with your time management, obviously, now, because everyone has a full-time career. They've got to try and, okay, well, after work, I'm going to do this class, and you've got to try and fit it in. I'd even go to the extent to say you probably train a little bit more for MMA, just because you have to do all the different disciplines that go into MMA, whereas Muay Thai, like do a 2-hour class every night, perfect. We've got everything done that we wanted to in that class. But if I do a 1-hour jiu-jitsu class, I still have to cover all the other parts of it. So you probably have to train a little bit more, I'd personally say.
Yeah, just so you can cover all those bases.
Just so you can cover them and get across and get skilled in all those, definitely.
What would be when it comes to the actual strength and conditioning side? Like, not the strength and conditioning you would do outside, but so Muay Thai is a very traditional way of training. What's the biggest differences in the way you'd say you train your striking in a purely Muay Thai sense versus striking in an MMA sense?
Sure. And again, I'll never propagate to be an expert in this. I have in my opinion, probably one of the best S&C coaches in Australia at the moment. Yeah, he just knows. He's just so knowledgeable, honestly.
Who's this guy?
Isaac, I think his surname is Davidson. He owns a performance headquarters gym, so it's called Perform HQ. Okay. He has a few gyms around, and he trains like all the top level basketball teams, the rugby teams. He's like got a good resume behind him, and he's honestly, I'm not just saying, he's incredible. So I trust him to take full responsibility for my training sessions. He programs them for me. And so for Muay Thai fights, it's, I don't like to answer questions if I don't know the answer properly. But my understanding of it is that for MMA, let's say, for training, it's a lot of like short movements with a bit of weight. So you need to try and replicate like your grappling. So like if I'm wrestling someone, I've got to be able to generate force in a short like little area. Whereas Muay Thai, it's quite long, quite rangy. So you can use like your long muscle fibers and everything. But for MMA, I find that the programs change slightly. Like he does what I call, it looks a bit strange, some of the exercises, but it's very well placed. Like I'll be holding weight and like I'll do short jumps with resistance on me. And I think he's just trying to replicate like the grappling aspects of that. Like I said, I'm not an expert on it, so I don't want to answer too much because I don't. Totally but that's my understanding of it. It does definitely change though. I can say that how he trains me for my Muay Thai and how he trains me for my MMA, the programs definitely do change. Yeah.
Do you think there's anything that, say, those who train in a very traditional Muay Thai sense could learn from training in MMA, or that they could adopt that could actually help them improve in their Muay Thai?
From MMA fighting itself?
Yeah, just the way you train to strike in MMA. Maybe it's not as traditional. Maybe they're more open to doing different things than someone might do in a traditional Muay Thai class. Is there anything that you've picked up in that might be differently? Like, oh, you know what? They did this in a traditional Muay Thai class. So it might actually be a little bit better.
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I would say not really. What can I take from MMA and utilize in Muay Thai? Not really. Like I said, MMA, you have to work on your boxing a lot. So if anything, maybe just, improve your boxing in Muay Thai. But to honestly answer your question, not really. Yeah. Whereas Muay Thai brings so much inherent value to MMA. I mean, look at your strikers like Izzy and all of them. That's their background, it's K1 or Muay Thai. So if you got wrestling and good striking, that's your MMA done and dusted.
Did you find you had to really try and adapt from that really tall Muay Thai guard to obviously being like a little bit more low, having to be ready for those takedown attempts? And you obviously can't just walk forward and just start throwing punches, because the more you put into it, the easier it is for them to take you down. So what changes did you have to make there?
Definitely. And it's another interesting question, because what I say to people is that one of the hardest parts, and it's going to sound crazy, about MMA is the striking. I struggle with the striking. What I mean by that is that I've had to change my striking, so it feels a bit awkward for me. And so I'm trying to strike like MMA, and it's thrown me off because I spent years just doing Muay Thai striking, so I know how that works. But now I'm trying to strike in a bit of a different way. You have to stay lower. Your center of gravity has to be lower. You have to use small gloves, so you've got to have more head movement. You can't just put your hands up and block like big Muay Thai gloves. You've got to improve your head movement. You got to be really ready to sprawl for anything. So your striking changes significantly for MMA, and that's one thing I struggled with, and it was frustrating because I thought that obviously striking. Well, it's really not. MMA striking is a lot different. Like I said, a lot more boxing, so I had to improve my boxing. So you're right. So it's very upstanding stance. And look, if some high-level MMA fighter watches me, they'll probably be like, I'm going to take him down in a few seconds. Look at his stance. So it's definitely still a work in progress. I try and lower my center of gravity. But it took a lot of getting used to. And I'm still, obviously, I'm new, so I'm still taking, it still takes a lot of getting used to even now.
So you use a lot more head movements and more footwork and head movement in MMA.
Definitely.
Do you find that did you take any of those skills? Do you apply them to your Muay Thai as well? And did you find that it helps? Or do you just completely change to a very traditional style once you do Muay Thai?
Well, there we go. Actually, that's a fair point. No, good. I think my boxing's improved since going to MMA. And now that you mention that, my head movement definitely improved a bit. My footwork, yes and no. I'm a bit stuck in the mud when it comes to Muay Thai. I could probably use my footwork a bit better. But definitely my head movement, you're right, is improved, and that's helped me in Muay Thai. That's a fair point, yeah.
How do you find fighting Muay Thai guys? Do you find that it's just surprising that the head movement isn't quite there as much? Do you find it's a little bit easier to land those shots when they're not moving as much?
Sure. Well, to be fair, I suppose it just depends on your opponents. Because I mean, you can't pick it out. If you look at someone like Alex Roberts, there's zero gaps in his game, and he's my regular sparring partner. So he's got the head movement, he's got the footwork, he's got everything you need. And I have fought guys that do have good head movement and some that don't. But I think fighter IQ, if you look at, like, let's say, traditional Muay Thai fighter, you can see certain gaps. Same as MMA, I suppose, in anything. And I think if you're stuck in a very traditional way, maybe you don't use your boxing as much or so, and you can pick out those certain gaps. I think I might be wrong. But yeah, I have had people that have had good head movement, bad head movement. So...
I guess it's, like I said, it's very individual in the sense of who you're fighting. Some people
definitely
just fight different from that very. I guess I'm being very general when I say Muay Thai, that very traditional walk forward, hands up, wear the shot, shell up, return, rather than trying to be evasive. But I think more people are using that style now. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just good in general to try not to take as much damage
100%.
as we usually take in Muay Thai. But yeah, it's just interesting. It'd be interesting. I'm very interested in your perspective. Someone who's done both, and that's why I just asked that question.
No, and it's a good question. It's nice. I'm extremely grateful to be able to do both. It's nice and mixing it up and changing it, so that one day when I'm finished, I can say, look, I explored all the avenues of martial arts and I tried them all. I love Muay Thai. It's so much fun, and I'm really starting to enjoy MMA. So I'm just honestly so grateful I get the opportunity to do both. And if anyone's doing Muay Thai and thinks about doing MMA fight, I couldn't honestly recommend any more. And vice versa, the MMA guys, I always tell them, look, guys, have a Muay Thai fight. Like, spend a fight camp 6 weeks training Muay Thai, and I promise you it's going to improve your striking for MMA. So it works both ways. I'd encourage everyone to try both.
Do you have a favorite between the two? Like, if you could only pick, if you could only compete MMA or Muay Thai?
Sure. So it's a hard one to answer. I'd say at this stage, I probably prefer Muay Thai, but the change is coming. So, like, in the beginning, I thoroughly enjoyed Muay Thai more, and then now I'm starting to enjoy MMA more. So I think my enjoyment for MMA will surpass my Muay Thai in the next year or so, definitely. Especially when I get better and I go pro. I definitely think I'll get full time into MMA.
Yeah. So you think you'll eventually drop off from Muay Thai fights? Is there maybe like something you want to achieve in Muay Thai first, like get a few titles and then just kind of put it aside?
Sure. So I mean, titles are great and everything, but I'm not like a lusting after titles. It's not my be all and end all. I'd love to maybe try and get the Australian heavyweight title, because obviously that's vacant now.
All right.
So to my understanding, because Alex had it, and then he got the international, and now he's got the world.
You can't hold an Australian and
I don't believe so. No, I don't think you can. So that's vacant. So I wouldn't mind. I'm trying to prove myself so that a promoter gives me that fight. So I'd love to get that, and then once I've got that, if I get it or if I don't, I will probably just transition fully over to MMA. I'm grateful and proud of what I've done in Muay Thai thus far, and grateful for the opportunity. So I can go into MMA happily and leave Muay Thai behind. Yeah.
It's actually funny that you mentioned obviously going for that vacant title, because I asked Alex during the show, like, who's next? Who do you reckon's next in line? Like, who else in the division at the moment do you reckon is the next? I guess, what was the word that I used? Next in line.
Sure.
As the best.
Sure.
And he said you. So it's pretty cool that if that happens, you end up getting the title right after he vacates it. That'd be pretty.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, me and Ola are really good mates. He's a legend. He always my biggest hype man. He's given me confidence. When he tells me like, "Oh, man, you're really good." Well, I believe it because he's the best. So, and he's just helped me so much. He's helped my growth exponentially in Muay Thai over the years, because he's honestly a legend at everything. He's so knowledgeable. I ask him questions like around physio, nutrition, training, SNC, fighting, mental health for fights, like all of this, and he just knows all of it. So having someone like Alex that I can follow in his footsteps, I literally, I couldn't have had anyone better, because he's the best in the world. And I spar with him regularly and train with him. So same as George. Like, I just think to myself, I've been so grateful to be able to train with the best in the world. I'm so grateful and lucky. Like I say, Alex is next level. George is I mean, George doesn't need any hype. Everyone knows how good George is alone.
It's pretty crazy. You got pretty much two of the best big guys, George Mann and Alex Roberts. Like having those as your main sparring partners is like unbelievable.
Yeah. So if you put in the time, I'm bound to improve. I'm bound to get good. Having those two alone bash me every day at sparring. So it's been so good having those two in my fight camps. Yeah.
I'm sure you don't feel bad as well. And after those days you get smashed, you're like, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, you can't compete with guys at that level. So when I get battered in sparring by Alex or George, you know, I don't beat myself up too badly about it. You know, it is what it is, and I just improve from there. But it's been so good training with those two. They're living legends. Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, like, what's been your most, I guess, first time, what's been your most unenjoyable word? I guess the fight that you've enjoyed the least.
Sure.
What's been your most enjoyable fight, and what made the one that you didn't like unenjoyable, and what made one you liked the most enjoyable?
Sure.
That wasn't too
No, I
crazy.
fully
the way
understood.
I worded that wasn't probably the best.
No, 100%. So definitely, my least favorite is an easy one. I went to Africa on a holiday to see my family and everything, and my arrogance got the better of me, and I said, no, you know what? I'll take a fight. It's 2 weeks after I get back from African holiday. It's heavyweight, so I don't have to cut weight. I'll do a bit of training on holiday, and I'll be fine. It was like, I think it was my second ever MMA fight, so I thought, you know, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So arrogant of me. I wasn't fine. I had a 2-week fight camp. I was sick in Africa, so I didn't train as much. Anyway, so got into that fight, and for the first time in my life, my fitness was substandard. It was shocking, and I felt it in the first round. And that's the fight I lost, and I deserved that loss because I was arrogant and I didn't want to have a proper fight camp. So I deserved to lose that fight. And from the first round, I just hated it. He was huge. He was strong. He was wrestling. I was gassed. I just wanted it to be over, and I lost on I think it was a split decision or something. And my most enjoyable fight, I love fighting, so I've enjoyed them all. Everyone has its different parts that have been enjoyable. I'd say, to be honest with you, even though I was disappointed with it, I enjoyed this last fight. Just because it was, you know, I think it was like a co-main. There was a bit of hype behind it, and my opponent's such a high-level opponent. So I enjoyed it in the sense that it was a big step up for me. You know, like I'm fighting on the show, I was on the poster, etc. And I was just grateful to be like, okay, I'm in the Muay Thai fraternity now. I'm fighting as a Muay Thai fighter, and I felt it was the first time. It kind of put me on the map to say I can fight some of these better guys. So in that retrospect, I'd say my last one was probably my favorite all round. Obviously there were a few issues in the fight and stuff, but to encompass as a whole, that would have been my favorite. Bittersweet, yeah. I would have loved to, or like I just mentioned, all the parts that were good, for it to just then have a 5-round war with this legend. That would have been great, but yeah, I'm still grateful for the fight, and it was good.
Not that you need a confidence boost, but after fighting someone of that caliber, did you find that after coming off the win, like that it did boost your confidence a little bit? You're like, okay, like they're just another fighter. It's not like, because I think sometimes when you fight these guys, like you can put them on a pedestal and they can mess with your mind a little bit. But when you after fighting him, did that change at all?
Definitely, and it's another great question. So maybe inherently, but I never look at my fights like that. Obviously, you do get a natural confidence boost every time you win a fight. You'd know from your fights and everything. But a big one, and me and Alex always say it, is like, well, honestly speaking, like if I'm sparring Alex and we spar hard, if I'm going to war with Alex 2-3 times a week, it's kind of like that's the confidence boost because, and we always say it, like there's no one better. Yeah. So we go to war. And then even if I get like 1 or 2 shots on him, I'm grateful for that. And like Alex was saying to me, he's like, man, you're good. Like you're sparring good. No one's going to beat you. Like, and for me, that's the biggest contributor to my confidence boost is if I can hold my own at least with Alex, well, I'm really not all that afraid to go in there with pretty much anyone else, to be fair. So that's my confidence boost.
That's fair enough. That would probably boost your confidence a little bit more than the fights you have.
Yeah, to be honest. Yeah.
That's so cool. Tell us a little bit about your life outside of fighting. I see you've been a keynote speaker at ECU. Tell us a bit of an academic. You know,
Sure.
I remember seeing something you yeah, I'll go into that a little bit later, but yeah, just tell us a little bit about your, I guess, your academic life, your life outside of Muay Thai
Sure.
and MMA, and yeah, tell us about that event as well, speaking there.
Sure. So, I was born and grew up in Zimbabwe, as you can tell by my accent, probably. And I went to school there, everything, lived a fantastic life there. But the universities there are non-existent. You can't go to university there. So in order to, best place myself in an opportunity for education, secondary education, my parents chucked me on a plane at the age of 19, sent me to Australia on my own, and quite literally. And I came and made a new life for myself here, just so I could, pursue the university life, so I can get good education. I've got 4 business degrees now, so I'm done with that. And I went to ECU. And keynote speaker. So while I was at university, I won the Dean's Award a few times, and I got noticed, and then I got an academic scholarship. And so I was the president of one of the clubs there, etc. So I was on the listing. They said, oh, well, I might be a good candidate to be the keynote speaker due to my academic success. And a few people knew me through the club that I ran and everything. So I said, oh, well, let's invite him, which is an extreme honor to be the keynote speaker at university graduation. I'm so honored and grateful for that. So yeah, I gave a motivating speech. I found that a lot of the speeches that I had attended once I got my degree were boring. They were generic, they were copy paste, and the crowd's already going to sleep. They just had to sit through 4 hours of clapping. Yeah. So I put a twist on mine. It was just more motivational, and I think it was well received. It was a bit different from your usual keynote speech. So I hope I got through to some of the people.
What's one thing you did different in that speech to make it, I guess, more motivational, a little bit less boring?
Sure, humor. So you add in a bit of humor, and everyone has a bit of a giggle, but you've captured their attention now. It's an easy way just to get everyone listening and continue listening. I wish I could remember what it was about, but it was 5 life advices from that I've experienced in my short life, and just what I can advise going forward. So that was uni. And I work here as well.
So what do you do with all those degrees?
Yeah, well, I work for a company now called Primero/NRW, so it's a conglomerate. And I'm in the business corporate sector working there. I love that. Obviously, my career comes first, fighting secondary. Yeah. And that's, as most people know, that's a hard juggle. When I worked full-time, I studied full-time, and I was fighting full-time. I was getting 4 hours sleep a night. It was that crazy.
How were you recovering?
My recovery was terrible. It wasn't. No ice bath can help if on average you're getting 4 hours sleep. I don't care how cold that ice bath is, it's not going to help you. There was a stage in my life where I was just running myself into the ground, but it was all for a purpose. I wanted to get my degrees done quick. I wanted to carry on fighting, and obviously I had to work full-time, or I wanted to work full-time. There was an interesting period of my life where it was just, that was it. Yeah. And then now obviously it's still busy because work life is crazy, and I'm still fighting full-time. So it's, as you would have known, it's that constant juggle of career and fighting. Like when you train, you got to take time off work, etc. So that's the hardest part about my entire fight camp. It's just the time management and time juggling with my career. Is like trying to accommodate fighting when you got work and everything, and you're tired. You go into work with a black eye, etc. Everyone's asking questions.
I'm sure. Yeah, have you had a few of those experiences?
I don't think I've had black eyes. I've had a cut once, and then after this fight, I went in with no shoe on one foot because it was swollen. Yeah. So you have to answer all the questions. But yeah, fortunately, very grateful, touch wood, no major injuries going in after training yet, where everyone asks you, what happened, and you have to explain. Because the career I'm in doesn't really fit all that well, you would say, with fighting, high level corporates, and then you're in a meeting room with, CEOs, CFOs, and then they're like, well, this guy getting to street fights on weekends, what's the story here? And
bit of Fight Club there, that's all they see.
Exactly, and obviously it isn't, but to them, they can misconstrue what it's all about, and you might get a dim negative view on it. So, but I've tried to manage it well, but it's always been an interesting juggle with career and fighting. So that's my that encompasses my life story, really briefly summed up. And here I am today, still fighting, still working, and my family all lives back home in Zimbabwe. So I see them once a year, and so that's still good. And I love my life here in Australia. I'm a citizen now, And
So that, congratulations.
thank you very much. The integration moving from Zimbabwe to Australia was almost seamless because there's a lot of similarities, like the landscape's similar, the weather's similar, the people are great. We have similar humor, characteristics, everything. So it was a seamless integration coming here, and I've never looked back. I'm so happy to be in Australia. I love this place. I love Perth. Made so many good friends here, good experiences. So yeah, I'm really one happy person.
So now that you're a citizen, do you see yourself like settling down here, or do you plan on going back? Or?
No, I'll never go back. I'm gonna die in Perth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not just Australia, but specifically Perth.
Perth. I mean, I'm in mining. Mining here is the be all and end all of mining here. So career wise, I wouldn't have to travel, because obviously a lot of people travel for career purposes, but I wouldn't have to unless we dry up all our mineral resources here, which I don't think we're going to do. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like I see myself here. I love it here. Yeah. Grateful to be here. Perth's great.
Being someone who obviously values their mind, you went through university. I've spoken to people in the past who were interested in fighting. They liked it, but they were worried about the head trauma a little bit. Did you ever have concerns with that, or did you find that nothing really there?
I've tried not to think about it, to be honest. It's obviously a thought that, that sits in the back of your mind. But yeah, look, if I was in full-time boxing is worse. Yeah. You're getting hit multiple times in the head over a short fight. Whereas Muay Thai, we might be elbowing and kicking each other, but we take significantly less head trauma, I would say, than boxing. Probably even less in MMA, maybe, because you incorporate, grappling and everything. So, but obviously, you got one body, you've got to protect it. We've got to preserve it to have good length of life, and you don't want to have all these injuries when you're older. Just to enjoy some bit of fighting now. Head trauma is obviously prevalent, but it's not something I overly think about. But I probably should.
I wasn't sure that was something that was really going through mine during university.
Yeah. Well, I probably should do more research into it, because I wonder, like, I've heard you can lose brain cells, etc. I don't know what the negative external effects would be. It's not good. I don't think it's good getting hit in the head. Yeah. But luckily I've got my degrees out the way. You
got all your degrees. Yeah. You got your nice corporate job.
Yeah. Even if I'm operating on half brain capacity, that'll get me by for now. Yeah. But no, genuinely, it's obviously a concern. Everyone needs to take care of that, and especially like if you get concussions, as you know, like, don't go back to training. Like, check it out. Concussions are serious things. Be smart about it. You like I say, you got one body. Just there are ways you can train and fight smart, or you can train and fight dumb. I think if you all things considered, if you do right, you should be fine. Yeah. Unless you get unlucky. Unless you're a boxer, I don't know. They might have more head trauma than us, but
imagine being a heavyweight boxer as well. 12 rounds.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be really speaking very well.
For years. Well, I mean, Mike Tyson, I think he might have suffered a bit. He's spoken about on a podcast once, a bit of trauma, head trauma stuff and he spoke about other fighters and how it affects them later on in their career, and so it's a real thing. Yeah. To consider.
Something to consider for sure.
Definitely.
Changing gears again. So you obviously being from Zim. Did you speak a bit of Shona and Ndebele, or anything else other than English?
I could speak in Ndebele a little bit. When I say speak it, I mean the basics, But no, I hardly even know any words. So I'm just an Englishman now. That's all I got. But I did used to speak a bit of one of the local languages, not very well, but it could get me by. Yeah, can I buy a beer? Can I get a loaf of bread? That kind of thing, Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how good I would be right now.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I saw your. I don't know. I think it's actually really cool. I really enjoyed it. Your little assembly speech that's on YouTube.
Oh yeah, at my school.
Was that what, graduation, or what was?
Oh, again, I was asked to speak on something on that when I was just got into high school. I would have been pretty young. So that was the school I went to back home. It was a great schooling system where you worked at your own pace. I actually finished school 1 year earlier than everyone else my age. So it was like an accelerated learning school where you could work at your own pace, and your coursework was laid out, and it was up to you when you completed it. And so I was able to finish a bit earlier, and then got straight into my apprenticeship for 2 years back in Zimbabwe, and then decided, no, this is not for me. I want to go to uni, and so that's why I flew over here.
What did you do an apprenticeship in?
Diesel plant fitting. So I started working for a company there, one of my dad's companies, and I just it wasn't for me. It's great to know, and it can earn you a good wage here, but I was set on going to uni, and that's what I did. But so to answer your question, sorry, I digress. It was a little speech that I did. I went to a Christian school back in Zimbabwe, and that's what would have been what you've seen.
Yeah, I really loved it. I really loved you talking about, like, how much God has done for us. And,
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, it seems like faith is a big part of your life, just from that speech. I mean,
Definitely.
I don't know exactly how much now, but yeah, I was curious about first up, just how you incorporate faith into your daily life now as a fighter. But then also, some people feel like there might be a bit of a wrestle there, like, you're a man of God, but then at the same time you're going out there and fighting someone. Yeah, I'd just be interested in, like, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, obviously Christian, grew up in a strong Christian family. My parents were regularly attend church and everything. And like anything, whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, you got to have something. The saying is believe in something or fall for anything, especially with today's crazy world, when there's all this nonsense going on around us. You have to just go back to something that you can believe in and stand for, whatever it may be. Otherwise, you'll fall into all this ludicrous. I'm not gonna name anything, but there's a lot going on in the world at the moment that I personally don't agree with. So, and Christianity is, it's old as they come, and it's bound in good morals and everything. And so I think Christianity is something good to believe in. It holds you steadfast and fixes you to something to believe in and gives you good life advice and everything. If you stand for something, you go into like for a fight, for example, like my screensaver on my phone. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to give you victory. That's just example. Like if you believe in something, you pray before fights and you go into that with the comfort and the knowing someone's got your back. Really, that's how I see it. Yeah, but it's definitely been a big part of my life for sure.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And the part where I don't see. Not that I've never had any wrestles with it, like being a man of faith myself, and obviously being a lover of combat sports. Sometimes it can be a bit of wrestle, like, is it, I am trying to go out there and hurt someone, but I love the art of combat, and we are both going to the, it's not like it's in malice, we're both going there and we're agreeing that, okay, we're going to step in and we're going to compete. But at the same time, you are, if in the Christian worldview, everyone's made in the image of God, right?
Yeah.
So I am really trying to hurt this person made in the image of God. So have you had any wrestles with that, or is that something that's not really crossed your mind? And if so, how do you reconcile that?
It's not something that gives me conflicting views or anything. I literally just see fighting as a sport. I don't see it as this bloodthirsty trying to, like, anyone who knows me knows I'm not a vindictive person. I'm just, friends. My opponent's always going to get them a beer afterwards. It's nothing personal.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're in there, I'm going to try and kill you, but it's nothing personal. It's not because of who you are as a person. It's a sport. I just see it as a sport, and so that helps me. There's no conflicting views in that retrospect. No.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So now, after all that, what would you say to anyone, based on your views? Obviously,
Sure.
Someone could argue it's subjective. What do you think the meaning of life is?
The meaning of life. I think it's a good question because it's more important than ever right now, like I said, in these times, to know what meaningful life is to add value to the world. You're brought into the world, and you could say you have two choices. You can have a negative impact, or you can have a positive impact, and it's pretty much that simple. In your day-to-day life is, how am I adding value to those around me, which in turn will add value to the world? Am I bettering things? When I leave, did I make things better than when I came? Did I create employment? Was I a nice person? Did I add to charity? Did I whatever it may be, did I help my step cousin with their weight loss program, or do you know what I mean? Like, just positive,
all those small little things.
Yeah, whatever your positives are, because it's very easy just to just be a negative, just not be a positive contributor to society, and a lot of people are, so I think our job is to come on earth, make it a more positive environment for everyone to live in, have children, procreate, and teach those children the life lessons on how to add positivity to the world again, so they can teach their kids. And then you just continue this lineage of positive contributors to society, because there's a lot of negativity out there. There's a lot of bad people. So my view on it is just add positivity wherever you can go around. And just make the world a better place like that. One small act at a time, that's what it takes from everyone.
I really love that. Anyone wanting to follow your journey and to keep up, obviously, what's the best way for them to do that? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? What's the best way for them?
Sure. I don't have like the most like a great special life. I don't post everything on social media. I'm not like a person that wants a big following or anything, and I'm certainly not that important of a person that I'm sure people want
I love humility.
will want to look into my life or know my eating routine or what time I shower every night. But I'm on social media, definitely. I'm on Facebook sometimes. I'm on Instagram. At the moment, I'm on a bit of a cleanse, got a lot going on at work, so I'm not regularly on it, which is nice. I've loved that, but refreshing. But yeah, if anyone wants to see what I'm getting up to, they can always find me on social media, send me a message, say what's up, give me advice, ask me advice if I can answer it. I'm always open to conversations and.
And I really appreciated having you on. This has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, mate. It's been awesome. Thank you.